Hello, everybody. Scott Golden here with the Superstars of Wrestling Review Series, November 28th, 1992. We are days after the Survivor Series. This is the weekend edition right after the Survivor Series, and things start to change in the WWF at the end of November 92. Lots of new talent, or returning talent, as it were. In this case, Bam Bam Bigelow against Jerry Fox. Bam Bam Bigelow had been here in 1987 or so, was here for about a year, maybe a little less. Comes back after a foray to Japan and the NWA, among other places. Uh, Big splash in the corner, vicious guy, tattooed all up, complete fire and flames on his gear. He's unstoppable. Even the headbutts look vicious, inside out, spinning clothesline, bump from the young Mr. Fox, and Bigelow basically does an inset promo where he says he's here to wreak havoc and get rid of everybody. Bam, bam, and a big drop kick, standing drop kick by the big man. Um, Bam Bam Bigelow, certainly a guy who I think could have gone a lot further with his athleticism and size, but never really hit in the States nearly as well as he did overseas. More money over there for him anyway, so good for him. But in any event, Bigelow top rope splash and gets a victory. Or top rope headbutt, diving headbutt rather. Then we move to disagreement between Ric Flair and Razor Ramon. They're disagreeing because they basically feel cheated by Randy Savage and Mr. Perfect. They've decided that Flair's decided he wants to see Perfect put to an end. Now, what's ironic is that in less than 2 months or so, end of January, I think it's January 25th of 93, we're going to see a loser leaves the WWF match and Henning's going to win. Flair's going to lose, but that's where all this goes to. Um, then we see the Head Shrinkers taking on Mr. Anderson and Mr. Kruger. Head Shrinkers are fresh off a victory at Survivor Series, still carrying their bamboo poles, sticks, whatever you want to call them. Alpha still at ringside with them, and they guzzle and gobble up just about any enhancement tag team in front of them. Double team leg drops and punches and kicks and the like even a slap or two. I've always heard if the Samoans like you, they're light as can be. If they don't, they'll knock you the heck out. Inset from the Natural Disasters, basically saying indirectly that the um, Samoan SWAT team, aka the Head Shrinkers, cost them the tag team championships, and that is unacceptable. Modified backdrop powerbomb double team, which for 1992 is pretty innovative by the Head Shrinkers here, and they continue to punch, kick, scratch, and claw, so they're not exactly playing by any rules other than their own, but it doesn't really matter. The enhancement talent being choked, bitten, and otherwise accosted here. Alpha seems happy with a shrunken head around his neck on the outside. The Head Shrinkers do eventually get your victory, but not before putting the enhancement talent in every conceivable and comfortable position, including a front forward face fall and a top rope splash. Alpha having a rather intense conversation with the shrunken head on the outside. Amazingly, they start to promote the Royal Rumble within a week or two. I don't know if they do it here, but literally into the beginning of December, they're promoting the Royal Rumble. Yokozuna or Mr. Fuji cuts Yokozuna's promo. Yes, that is as bad an idea as it sounds. All that Yoko says is something like Yoish, but Fuji says he's going to destroy everybody. That's just the way it is, and he, over the next 4, 5, 6 months, does. Um, then we go to the Undertaker, who basically says he's gotten rid of Kamala, and he's good with that. Rick Revlin Slick is back. Now, last we saw Slick, otherwise known as the Slickster, he was a heel manager. He has since converted, found, or refound, depending on your perception, religion. He is a Baptist minister who is back in the WWF, says he found his way back to the faith. He's trying to find a way to make the WWF a better place, and he thinks doing so from the pulpit is a good idea. So basically what you have is a babyface version of Brother Love. No, it does not last long. No, I don't know what they were thinking, but that is here. Tom Stone has the very unenviable task of facing the former WWF and WWF champion in Bob Backlund. Backlund makes his return here this week, and has to be unnerving for Stone, an enhancement talent called upon to take a guy from Princeton, Minnesota, who, was world champion for 5.5, almost 6 years, and take him to a limit. Bob Backlund, one of the few guys who still wore a towel to the ring. Of course, towel significant because it was thrown in by his then manager Arnie Skoland in December of 1983 to signify that the reign is over, the championship reign. Backlund goes to town. He basically talks in an inset promo about being an older guy who wants to make it. Uses some R-drags to drop toe holds, and basically what we see is that Stone is surprised at the both speed and power of Backlund, starts to get a little frustrated toward the end. Backlund does the catch the foot and does a roll up and gets a victory. So Bob Backlund victorious in his first time back. Whippleman promises that Kamala's been sent away. He would be bringing him back bigger, better, and better than ever. And needless to say, he's not happy about any of that. Joey Maggs against Damien Demento. Now, Damien Demento was a New England independent standout guy. Also, had spent some time in the International World Class Championship Wrestling area, or IWCCW. And up in the Maine and upper New England area. He is wearing feathers with teeth on them. The whole idea is that he's a little mentally unhinged, talks to the voices in his head, talks about dark things. Might have worked, except they already had an Undertaker. Meanwhile, the clown that we don't know his name is Doink yet, but I'm going to name him Doink because we find out later, is going to battle with a little girl at ringside over some popcorn or other souvenir, it appears. Demento, meanwhile, does hit a leg drop, and several kicks and punches, basically laying open his adversary in the most simple way possible. Every time he hits an offensive maneuver, yet has a minute, he does look to the sky for guidance of some sort. Net breaker by Demento, and that leads him where he wants to go. Finally gets the victory a few seconds later, and then we go to the barber shop review with from 1/11/1992, the breakup of the Rockers. Basically, Shawn lures Marty, and I'll do this if I ever get the chance in a longer form. Shawn lures Marty into the barber shop with the idea that they're going to put the problems with the team behind them. Shawn shakes his hand, gives him a hug, and then super kicks him right in the face and then throws him through a plate glass window. One of the most iconic and memorable matches or angles rather in this time period, I'd say, of definitely in the top 5 of the 88 to 92 time period. But it also launched the heel career of Shawn Michaels. Jannetty apologizes in a promo up next, with Gene Okerlund apologizes to the effect of how things have been laid out for sensational. Sharing was never his intention, he says. He says he does want to get his hands on both Shawn Michaels and the Intercontinental Champion. The title, that is, the championship itself. And Razor Ramon against Gary Jackson is up next. Razor, obviously, fresh off the loss at Survivor Series, but still carrying himself like he's worth $10 million. Takes off his ring jacket and his chains, yells at the ring attendant to take both, and that if something happens to him, something's going to happen. If something happens to the stuff, something's going to happen to him. Razor, more aggressive than we actually had seen him before. Shocking though it is, he manages to do all his major spots: the one-legged abdominal stretch, the choke slam, and the actually a submission style hold, almost like an STF near the ropes. So he's kind of adding to the repertoire a little bit. He doesn't seem to care about this. He's just slapping the kid around wherever he can, whenever he can. And Razor hits the back suplex, the Razor's Edge, all that, and he is good to go. Razor, of course, victorious. Big surprise there. We get a replay. Then we go through that. Crush up next against Red Tyler. Big surprise as to how that goes. Crush with the military press, the backbreakers he normally does, and all points in between there before the cranium crunch, and he gets a victory there. Red Tyler, a guy who increasingly is more and more a really good enhancement talent I'd love to know more about. Then we close with the event center, Virgil, who's talking about, his shot at the championship and the increased competition from the Berserker to Damien Demento to everybody in between. Rick Martel still in the same outfit he was before the pay-per-view, so they taped a bunch of promos the same day and he didn't bother to change, talking about, being the fashion model that he is. And we close the month of November 1992 here in the World Wrestling Federation Superstars catalog. We'll be back with more right after this.